This is Sports 225 with Lee Feinswag. Sports 225 with Lee Feinswag is Baton Rouge's longest running and best television show. Who would have believed that?
My best friend, Lee Feinswag, look at the Christmas.
Sports 225 is brought to you by Breck. Remember, it all starts at Breck. Now, your host, Lee Feinswag.
Well, there are times that I do this show and I know that my life has come full circle. As the former LSU basketball beat writer for The Advocate back in the day, and then having gone through all the events of life, such as seeing my son play college basketball. And now LSU hires a basketball coach who's the same age as my son. And Will Wade is here, and now I know that somehow either I've been in this too long or it's all just come full circle. So how's life as a young basketball coach?
It's been great so far. Really enjoyed my time here in Baton Rouge for the last month or so, a little less than a month, but it's moving quickly. So very excited to be here, excited about the opportunity that we have in front of us, and just ready to dig in and get going full steam ahead.
Much how guys like who are athletes at the end of their career and you remind them that they're old, they get ticked off. I'm not going to harp on the thing that you're really young, but like when you got the job at Chattanooga, you were really young.
Yeah,
this was like, whoa.
I think I was one of the 4 or 5 youngest coaches in the country, maybe one of the 2 or 3. But you just gotta put your head down and go to work. You got to put your head down and go to work and use your experiences. I was fortunate. I worked for some really good coaches. I'd been around some really good people and really good programs. So when you're around those folks, you're able to develop philosophies quickly and put those into place and implement them at a place like Chattanooga. So maybe I was young years-wise, but I felt like I had a lot of experiences from working with Larry Shyatt and Oliver Purnell and Tommy Amaker and Shaka Smart and all the different folks that I worked with.
All the names I was going to throw out so people knew I did my homework. So anyway, Will came here from VCU, Virginia Commonwealth in Richmond, Virginia, where he had a couple of great years, which preceded or followed a couple of great years at Chattanooga, and he replaces Johnny Jones at LSU. But one of the guys you mentioned, Oliver Purnell, who was the coach at Clemson, was one of the more underrated basketball guys of the last 20 years, in my opinion.
He's just phenomenal. I talked to him the other day, and we were talking about he's the best I've seen at retooling or rebuilding programs. He's done it at Radford, at Old Dominion, at Dayton. He did it at Clemson. So he's done it at 4 or 5 different programs, and he certainly would have gotten DePaul turned around if a couple things had happened differently. But he's got a phenomenal blueprint. He's got a phenomenal way about him on how to turn it. Because sometimes it's like turning a cruise ship. It takes a little bit of, you can't just turn it on a dime. It takes a little bit of time to turn things, but he has a good way about him on how to do it, and really what we're going to use here at LSU will be a lot of his blueprint and how he turned around those 4 programs, and I took a lot from him during my time with him.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because, you had said, I remember somebody asked you at the news conference about rebuilding, and you said retool. And I was like, wait a second. He's got to know what he's getting into here. I mean, the cupboard's not full. And it is good that you mentioned that he has that type of experience. But can you give me some examples? And I'm glad you also said about moving a cruise ship instead of trying to turn it into a speedboat, because I think there has to be a progression.
Yeah, you want to build it on a solid foundation. Right now, it's in college basketball, it's easy to try to go get some quick fixes and figure things out quickly. But you really want to take your time and have an incremental build on a solid foundation. So you have a program and not a team. A lot of guys are into building teams every year, just putting together a talent grab with the best team you can put together every year. But that's not a way to be consistent and have a consistent winner. You've got to have a solid foundation with your culture. You've got to have a solid recruiting base where you balance out your classes. Certainly we want the best players we can possibly get if those are one and dones or whatever. Yeah. But we also need really, really good 3- and 4-year players that are going to be in our program. They're going to go through our weight program. They're going to put on muscle mass and be grown men by the time they're ready to play. So you want to stay old as best you can as well, because you're not going to one and done some of the other teams in the country. That's just the way it goes. So your advantage is staying old. So really, when we talk about building the program, we want to build it on a solid foundation and no quick fix, and make sure that this thing is going to be ready to go once we have it up and running for a long time coming.
This is really weird. I got to tell you, we've never met before today. I mean, we've been at the news conference. You've never heard me talk about basketball, I'm sure. And
Not till today.
And you just said things that, like, verbatim, I could pull out for you that I've either written, said on television, or said on radio, that exactly about building a program and getting caught in that trap about building teams, about having the foundation, about having guys with experience. It kind of warms my heart. I might just kind of tear up. But yeah, I mean, it's hard. I mean, of course, you followed from afar. You know the story, like, for example, when Ben Simmons was here. And there's other situations. I don't mean specifically LSU, but you know, Kentucky's obviously got it to an art form, but of getting the one and dones and the future NBA players. But the key is, and you know from being at VCU before, and then what you did at VCU or what happened at Butler, was done with the foundation and guys who came through and experience.
Yeah, you want to have an experienced team. If you look at the teams look at North Carolina, for example, who won it all this year. They had experience.
Yeah.
They had experience everywhere. And so it takes, you've got to go through the battles. You've got to have some ups and downs in order to, really some lows to experience those highs. And that's what it's about. And so you want to build a team that reloads every year, but it's based on your upperclassmen and how good your upperclassmen are, and they set the tone and they lead the way for the younger guys that you bring in. When you do that, you've got a good program and you got a team that's just going to continuously reload and be better or be as good as they were the year before.
It sounds good, and I love to hear it. He's Will Wade. He's the new LSU basketball coach. I'm Lee Feinswag. I'm going to take this break and dab my eyes. It's Sports 225.
Hi, I'm Joe Martin, president of ITI Technical College. You know, you're not a number here at ITI. You're known by name. The staff and the instructors work diligently for your success because your success is our success. ITI is family owned and part of this community. Our 10-acre campus has been here for over 40 years. Let us evaluate your credits to determine if they'll transfer here. ITI is accredited by the Accrediting Commission of Career Schools and Colleges. ITI Technical College. Begin your journey for a better life.
Back on Sports 225, hanging out with Will Wade, the new LSU basketball coach, who takes over a program that we both agree, whether it's semantics or not, either needs to be retooled or rebuilt. What are your thoughts about junior college players?
Well, I think junior college players provide a purpose. I've had junior college players everywhere I've been. I like them because they have a sense of, in today's basketball culture and culture in general, you have a lot of entitlement. And I like kids who have ridden on vans and eaten McDonald's. And, hey, we got nice stuff at LSU. We got great stuff. We got a great practice facility. We treat them well. We feed them well. They've got tremendous stuff. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you need some guys who have a little bit of perspective. Like, hey, this isn't how the real world goes. Most teams are taking charter buses, not charter planes. Most teams are driving vans and eating on $10, per diem, if you're lucky. So I've always liked having junior college kids. I think they bring an edge to your team. I think they bring a toughness to your group. Now, you don't want to build a whole program on junior college kids. I think that's very tough to do, especially at the highest level.
Well, because there's always a reason they went to junior college.
Well, some of them.
Sometimes, yeah,
some of them not. I think some of them get a bad rap. But you've got to pull the weeds and make sure you get the good plants that are in junior college. But I think there's a good balance to your roster. Certainly, we're going to use some junior college players here early because we got to balance out our classes and we've got to put this thing on a little bit of stability in the program. But we'll always have a junior college kid or two in our program. One, because I think they can help. They're grown men. They're a little bit older. We talked about wanting to stay old, and two, because I think they bring an edge to you. They bring some perspective to some of your guys who maybe have been institutionalized and been here 2 or 3 years and are just so used to all the great stuff that they get. These guys bring a little bit of perspective to you.
LSU's, in this case, has had mixed results over the years. There's been a couple of JCs who've come in and, really not helped at all, and then there's been some who are fantastic. Kent Lowe, the LSU Sports Information Director, is sitting off in the wings. Marcus caught catch and shooter.
Thornton.
Martha, thank you. A mind is a terrible thing to waste. Best junior college transfer LSU ever had, and the seamless transition that he made, it was fantastic. So,
typically with a junior college kid, if they can't help you by Christmas time of their first year, it's probably it's probably not going to work out real well. You need them to be able to contribute by Christmas time of their first year. I mean, in some level, they need to be able to contribute to winning.
Yeah, no.
If you got that, then you've got a pretty good player for the next year and a half, and they're usually much better in their second year than they are their first. But Wap, the junior college kid we have now, he's going to be good. The kid Brandon Jenkins has a chance to really, he can guard the ball and do some things. So, we've got some good pieces now, and we've got to put it together.
The roster that you have is not going to include, evidently, Antonio Blakeney. What was the conversation like that you had with him?
Well, we'll see. He still hasn't hired an agent, so he still left the option open.
Good choice.
He's still left the option open to come back. So we've had honest conversation. He worked out with us. We've had dialogue, but we don't want to hold anybody back from their dreams. I mean, if your dream's to play in the NBA and you've got a shot to play in the NBA, that's what we're about. So we're not trying to hold anybody back, but we do want to make sure that everybody maximizes their potential, gives themselves the best opportunity to play at the highest level and earn the most amount of money possible at that level. So that's Antonio's decision to make. That's not my decision to make. That's not our decisions to make. It's his family and his livelihood that's on the line, and we're going to support him with whatever he does. We'd certainly love to have him back.
Blakeney, listen to me. Stay in school, get as many credits as you can, learn a year from this man, improve your stock, and you'll make more money in the long run and be a better person in your life. Thank you. I feel better now.
I like your. We'll take it. We'll take the public service announcement. I like it.
I mean, some of the guys who go out, sure, they're making more money than I ever could have dreamed about, but they could set up themselves for the long term in their lives so much better if they maximize the college experience.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys who that's true for, and there's some guys who gamble and come out and it works. I mean, Tim Quarterman went undrafted, and now he's going to sign has signed a huge contract and is going to have a long career in the NBA. So it cuts both ways. There's obviously some stories where things don't go so well, and there's stories where things go well. It's really an individualized deal and how that person handles everything. But we're supportive of Antonio either way, but we'd certainly love to coach him.
Yes, as well you should. So finish this segment as I started the last one saying how everything's come full circle. So you hired Tony Bedford, who was at North Texas, who replaced Johnny Jones, who came to LSU, who's now gone from LSU. But what does he bring to the table for you?
Coach Bedford's he's a veteran guy. He's been around. I'm good friends with Buzz Williams, the head coach at Virginia Tech. And Coach Benford worked with Coach Williams at Marquette, and I've never gotten a higher recommendation from somebody on an assistant coach than Coach Williams gave me on Coach Benford. And we had a lot of mutual friends that we knew he knew well and I knew well, and it was very apparent to me that he was somebody we needed. He's got deep ties in Texas. He's a tremendous basketball coach. He does a great job with the bigs. He was drafted in the NBA. He was a standout college player. As well at Texas Tech. So he's been around the block. He's a veteran guy. He played at a high level. He can really coach. He can really prepare teams in scouting, and then he's a phenomenal recruiter. So when you put that together, you got the total package, which is what you're looking for in an assistant.
You also hired Wichita State assistant Greg Hare. Am I saying it right?
Yeah, Greg Hire.
Greg Hire.
Yeah.
You hired Hire?
Hired Hire. Yeah. Great ball coach. Has extensive. I mean, he was 169-15 as a junior college head coach. So he's got extensive.
Speaking of junior college.
Speaking of junior college, a lot of times when you bring junior college players, they like to know there's a junior college guy on staff. And Greg's done a phenomenal job mining junior colleges, mining high school and prep schools for talent at Wichita State. It's no secret when he got there 6 years ago, that's when they started going on their run. Phenomenal basketball mind, maybe one of the best I've ever seen at player development. That always stuck out to me when I recruited his kids when he was at Chipola Junior College. You'd go watch him practice, you'd go watch their workouts, and he was just unbelievable on the court with those guys. And when you look at what they did at Wichita, he had a lot of the big scouts for their big games and had those guys really prepared. If you watched Wichita, you knew they were extremely prepared and well-schooled in the fundamentals, especially defensively. So very excited about him. He brings some, he'll be able to use his junior college contacts to help us. Phenomenal on the court with the guards. I think he's had a run of 6 straight years where all of his guards that he's coached are making $750,000 or more, whether they're playing overseas or or in the NBA.
Well, that's
And
good.
So that's a good
Guards are the key.
That's a good thing. It's a guards game, and he'll do a great job developing those guys.
All right, hold that thought. We'll talk more about personnel and who knows what else. Maybe even the real young Will Wade, who is the LSU basketball coach. I'm Lee Feinswag at Sports 225.
Don't let the bed bugs bite you. We'll put them to sleep.
Bed bugs can be transported from most anywhere. Hotels, department stores, even a friend's house.
We've got the bead on bed bugs. Call the bug man today.
Call 923-BUGS.
Music. We're back. Here we go. It's Sports 225. I'm hanging out with Will Wade, the new LSU basketball coach. When you were a kid growing up in Nashville, I just got this image of this really scrawny little kid. Were you? Tall, lanky, scrawny kid?
That was me. I was just a decent athlete, but loved sports. My parents instilled that in me. My mom was a coach and principal.
What'd she coach?
She coached. She was a very, very good tennis player. She coached tennis and women's basketball before I was born, when I was a little bit younger. But then she moved into administration, and when you're in administration, you can't coach as much in schools. But she instilled that in me. She still coaches today. She'll be at a lot of the games. She gets mad. Yeah, she gets mad when things don't go right, and she'll give me her opinion after the game sometime
That's great.
on what we need to do. And my dad's he's a more positive guy, just very he's into all the theatrics at the game and the band and the fan. He enjoys all that sort of
That's
stuff.
great.
But it's a great combination, good people, and really instilled a love of athletics with me.
So you went to Clemson as a student.
Yep.
How did you choose that, and did you get involved in basketball
Yeah.
after you got there?
Yeah, I was a manager for the basketball team at Clemson. I'm a little bit different guy. I like to carve my own path, and so everybody in Nashville, where I was from, everybody went to Auburn. That was a really popular school in Nashville, and so I said, you know what? Everybody likes Auburn. Auburn's a nice place, but I said, let's go somewhere that's a little bit different. So somebody said, well, they called Clemson Auburn with a lake. And I said, well, that sounds good. It's a little bit different. And so that's how I went and visited there and really, really liked it. And I think there was 2 or 3 kids from all of Nashville that went to Clemson the year I went.
Yeah.
And that's how I ended up there. And it was a great decision. Every job, everything that's happened to me in my life has happened because of going there and working with Larry Shyatt, working for Oliver Purnell, and then it just led me down the path.
Larry Shyatt at Clemson, that's a book in itself. In fact, there may even be one. But before that, so you were a kid, you had to follow Vanderbilt basketball.
Yep, followed Vanderbilt. We had season tickets. My mom.
Eddie Fogler was National Coach of the Year there, of course.
1993.
Yeah.
They won the SEC. And
Yeah.
I grew up going to Vanderbilt games in Memorial Gym. We had season tickets, and my mom has 2 degrees from Vanderbilt. So it was a fun time. Coach Fogler had great teams at the time at Vanderbilt. It was the same time, Arkansas was great, LSU was great.
It was such a
Kentucky
magical time
was
in
great.
the SEC.
There was a lot of really high level teams, and the SEC's coming back. I mean, the SEC's getting back like that now, and we've got to climb our way back to the top.
This last NCAA tournament was a nice, vindication, something like that for the SEC. It was good. So you left Clemson. You graduate there with a degree in basketball now, and then what?
Well, I stayed on there. Coach Purnell kept me on there. I was a graduate assistant there for a year. Then he moved me up to operations. I had no business getting the job at 24 years old. And, from there, I left, and I was an assistant coach for Tommy Amaker at Harvard. Phenomenal first coaching job, because at Harvard you're able to make some mistakes in recruiting, and the kids still want to go to Harvard because it's Harvard. So it's a great place to learn on the job with the
And the Ivy League's got to be a fun place to coach for basketball.
It's a tremendous league, and what Coach Amaker's done at Harvard. When he got to Harvard, they had been to one NCAA tournament in 1946, and they had never won the Ivy League. And now, when you think of the Ivy League, Harvard's the first school you think of. It was Penn and Princeton.
And if you don't know who Tommy Amaker was, he was a star at Duke who later coached at Michigan. Was he at Seton Hall?
He was an assistant at Duke, then he was the head coach at Seton Hall, head coach at Michigan.
Right.
Now he's the head coach at Harvard, and really just built a mid-major
So it's great that you've been,
juggernaut.
these guys who are all, like you've mentioned so many of them. It's great that you have that frame of reference. However, if I don't have a frame of reference for one last commercial break, we'll have nothing left in the last part of the show. So he's Will Wade. He's the new LSU basketball coach. I'm Lee Feinswag. It's Sports 225.
See that dog lover? About to unleash the terror hound on these friendly, unsuspecting canines? Well, I'm the human dislike button, and I see it too. Easy there, Cujo. Taking part in a dog socialization program at a shelter or pet store can help nip this problem in the bud. And no matter how well socialized your pet is, cleaning up the little rays of sunshine they leave in their merry wake is your responsibility. To learn more about me, go to breck.org/HDB.
Back on Sports 225, coming down the home stretch. Will Wade, the LSU basketball coach here. Thanks to longtime veteran LSU basketball sports information director Kent Lowe for handling chauffeur duties today. To Nils Breckoff for directing the show, and for all the show listings, sports225.com for when we air on Cox 4, when we're on CST. You can watch the archive shows at our Sports 225 TV channel. It's a lot. How are you?
I'm great. You got all the...
I take care of all the business.
Yeah, all the business.
Because then at the end, you're racing to get it in. All right, so you signed a 5 or 6 year deal, right? Was it a 6-year deal?
6-year deal.
Good. 6 years is good because back to what we talked about in the very first segment, which is you want to build this incrementally and properly. What's a realistic outlook for next year?
Well, I mean, I don't know. We don't have our whole team together yet.
Right. And I'm not saying
but
we're going to win X amount of games.
We want to be a team that that plays really, really hard. We want to be a team that's a tough out defensively. We want to be a mentally and physically tough team. We want to get stronger. We need to look a lot different than we've looked. That's the bottom line. We got to be a physically and mentally tough team. And when you play LSU, you're in for a dogfight all night. I think that would be a great first step. A team that plays hard, goes all out, empties their tank for 40 minutes. Whatever the results say, the results will say. But I think if we do that, I think that'll be a good baseline to start our foundation with and to start building from there.
I agree with you totally, and I think people here will embrace that and appreciate that. In a nutshell, what kind of offense do you like to play? I know you said in your news conference you want to get after it and run off the floor and shoot, but when you have to go to the half-court set.
Yeah, we run a ball screen, bunch of ball screen sets, ball screen continuity type offense. We call it a ball screen motion, and then we run some sets into that. So we can make sure, one thing we do is our best players are going to get the shots.
Good.
I'm not equal opportunity, so our best players shoot the most shots, and it's my job to get them clean looks and good looks where they feel the most comfortable. So our best guys are going to shoot it, and and then our other guys are going to rebound it and go from there.
It's awesome. Will Wade, the first-year LSU basketball coach. So thankful for you to come on. I'm excited about what's going to happen with LSU basketball. And we'll catch up soon. And we'll catch up with all of you soon, too. Thanks for watching. Good night.
At carnival time by Baton Rouge Bay, that's the site of my story. At Spanish Town Mardi Gras, things can get blurry. See the mowers marching, prizes fill the sky.